In a time when the skies had forgotten how to cry, and the earth had begun to crack under the weight of thirst, a tiny village named Yondalo stood on the brink of despair. Crops withered into dust, rivers ran dry, and the people could only look up at the heavens and pray for a miracle. But what they didn't know was that their savior wasn't a king, nor a prophet, but an orphan boy no older than 12 named Abba. He had no family, no wealth, no voice in the village council. Yet he held the power to speak with the rain spirits, and the story of how he tamed them is one you'll never forget. Beat This is not just a tale of magic. It's a tale of rejection, courage, and an ancient power passed down through whispers on the wind. So lean in, listen closely, because this is the story of the orphan boy who tamed the rain spirits. Oba had lived all his life on the outskirts of Yondalo, on the far edge of the savannah, where no one cared to walk unless they were looking for trouble, or trouble was looking for them. He lived in a hut made of cracked clay and broken thatch, patched together by his own tiny hands. His only companions were a blind goat named Batu, and the echo of his mother's lullabies, long faded into memory. Abba's parents had died when he was a baby, his mother in childbirth, his father during a failed harvest. Since then, the villagers had treated him like a curse. The boy who brought drought, some whispered. The son of sorrow, others said children were told not to play with him. Elders crossed the path to avoid him. And Oba, he simply endured. But Oba had a secret, one he had never told a soul. He could hear voices in the wind, whispers that rustled through the dried maize stalks and danced in the treetops. They came most clearly at night, when the stars blinked awake and the world held its breath. At first, he thought he was imagining them, but one night, the voices called his name, Oba. Oba, child of rain. He sat up, heart pounding. The wind outside stirred like it had something urgent to say. Then came the sound not of words, but of soft drums in the distance. Like rain trying to remember how to fall. And so began Abba's journey into a world forgotten by men, but not by the spirits. The next morning, Abba awoke early, his eyes heavy with wonder and unease. The memory of the voices still echoed in his ears. Abba, Abba, child of rain, as if they had been spoken directly into his soul. He sat at the edge of his sleeping mat, barefoot, staring out through a hole in the wall of his mud hut. The skies above Yondalo were, as always, painfully blue and mercilessly dry. Yet, something had changed. The wind no longer felt empty, it carried presence. A subtle rhythm, like a song just out of reach. Batu, the blind goat, bleated softly beside him and nudged Abba's hand with her head. You heard it too, didn't you? Abba whispered. I'm not dreaming. That day, Oba wandered farther, into the wild edges of the forest than he ever had before. He followed the sounds he thought he had heard the night before, not words now, but rustling patterns in the leaves, like syllables made from air. He walked past dead trees, past dry riverbeds, until he reached a clearing so quiet it aped UMMED. At the center stood a massive baobab tree, ancient and hollow, its roots like twisted fingers gripping the earth. Oba felt his heart leap. The tree called to him. As he stepped closer, a sudden breeze whooshed through the clearing. Yet none of the surrounding grass moved. Only the baobab's leaves stirred, dancing as if to a silent drumbeat. Then he heard it again. Oba, child of rain, the drought will swallow them, unless you remember. His mouth fell open. I don't understand, he whispered aloud. Remember what? The tree shuddered. Suddenly, a small slit in the bark began to widen, splitting open like a mouth or a door. Oba stepped forward, trembling. He touched the edge of the bark. It was cool. Unnaturally cool for such a sun-scorched day, inside the hollow tree. There was only darkness, then dash light. A faint blue glow lit up the interior. Carvings lined the inner wall, symbols, images, rain clouds, rivers, a boy standing beneath a storm. A familiar boy. Oba gasped. It was him, a voice enchant deep and gentle rose from the tree. Your blood carries the bond of the first rain's child. Your mother was the last rain singer. Her gift is now yours, my mother. Oba stammered. Stepping back, she was a rain singer. The voice replied, yes, and only her child can awaken the rain spirits once more. Oba's legs felt weak, his mind spun. But how? I asked. I don't know what to do. Just a boy. No one listens to me. The voice whispered, not all power comes with thunder. Some comes with silence. Come back here when the moon is full. We will show you the rain dance. Back in the village, Oba said nothing to anyone who would believe him. That night, as he lay beside Batu, the wind whispered gently through the window, stroking his hair like a lullaby. It no longer sounded like madness, it sounded like destiny. Asterisk, asterisk. The days that followed were harsher than ever. The village of Yandolo had long lived under the threat of drought. But now it felt as if even hope had withered. Cracks split open the red clay paths. The once bustling market was reduced to a few dusty stalls. Water pots were empty, and tempers flared like dry brush in the wind. Children cried from thirst. Livestock dropped from exhaustion. The village elders held emergency meetings daily, but their voices only echoed with blame and fear. Some even turned to superstition. It's the boy, one muttered. That orphan. He walks alone and speaks to himself. Yes, another agreed. I saw him staring at the clouds like he was trying to summon something. He's cursed, just like his parents. Oba heard it all, but he didn't answer. He simply kept to himself, collecting odd sticks, shells, and bits of thread. He was preparing for something he just didn't fully understand what yet. Then came the worst day. A little girl named Nia collapsed near the well. Her skin was pale, her lips dry, her small body limp in her mother's arms. The village had nothing left to give her, not even a drop of water. The elders gathered again. This is not just drought. This is punishment from the gods. We must send offerings, sacrifice a goat, or banish the cursed boy. Oba watched from behind a crumbling wall, heart pounding. They were talking about him. Again, but something inside him was changing. He no longer felt helpless. He felt called. That night, the moon rose, full and ancient, glowing eye staring down upon the land. Oba slipped quietly from his hut, Batu trailing behind him. The wind had returned, gentle but urgent, guiding his steps through the tall grasses and dead trees until he reached the clearing once again. The baobab tree stood waiting. Its hollow trunk shimmered faintly in the moonlight. The opening appeared. Just as before, Oba stepped inside, and what he saw took his breath away. The carvings on the wall were moving alive. The figures danced. Lightning flickered across etched clouds, and streams of blue light pulsed along the tree's inner surface. Then, from the shadows emerged 3 rain spirits tall, elegant beings cloaked in mist, their faces hidden beneath veils of vapor. Each carried a staff made of bone and light. One spoke, Oba, son of Asok, the rain singer. Do you come to awaken the pact? Oba trembled, but nodded. Yes, I want to help my people. Another spirit stepped forward, voice like falling water. Then you must learn the dance of the sky. It is not a movement of the body, but of thee. Soul, your heart must carry rhythm. Your hands must speak the language of water. Your feet must echo the storm. The third spirit circled him, but beware. Once the rain spirits answer, they cannot be controlled. They will test your intentions. If your heart is selfish, it will drown you instead of bless you." Oba swallowed. "I understand." The spirit surrounded him in a circle of light. The air thickened, pulsing with energy. His feet moved. On their own, guided by something deep within, something ancient, he danced, not like a boy, but like a memory reborn. And as he danced, the sky above the baobab stirred. For the first time in many years, a single cloud formed. Asterisk, asterisk. The single cloud hovered above the clearing like a sleeping giant. Oba, breathless and sweating, stood at the center of the baobab's glow. The echo of the rain dance still tingling in his limbs. The rain spirits watched silently, then without warning. The ground beneath Oba trembled. From the soil rose a path of light, a spiral of glowing symbols that encircled him like a snare. The first spirit, his voice suddenly sharp, spoke. "Now, child of rain, comes the trial of thunder." Before Oba could ask what that meant, the cloud above cracked open. Boom! A deafening thunderclap tore through the sky, so loud it knocked Oba to his knees. Lightning split the heavens, but instead of striking earth, it formed a glowing archway in the sky. Through it descended a figure cloaked in storm massive, faceless, wrapped in dark clouds and flashing blue bolts. It was the spirit of thunder, the guardian of the first rain. He hovered above Oba and growled, "Many have danced for rain. Few have danced with truth. Show me your soul." Oba's lips trembled. "What do you mean?" The spirit raised his hand in an instant. Oba was no longer in the clearing. He stood in the middle of the village of Yandaloba. Something was wrong. The village looked different, smiling faces, green fields, full wells. The air was fresh, the ground wet. He heard laughter. He saw his parents live. His mother, Asok, sat beneath a tree humming a lullaby. His father held Oba, cradling him with joy. Oba took a step forward. "Mother?" She looked up. "Come home." "My son," she said gently. "You've suffered long enough." Tears welled in Oba's eyes. His feet moved toward them, heart racing. It felt so real, so warm. Then he stopped. He remembered Naya, the little girl who fainted near the well. He remembered the villagers crying out for rain. He remembered the whisper of the baobab and the pain of his solitude. "No," he whispered, stepping back. "This isn't real. My parents are gone. My village needs me." The perfect vision began to crumble. The smiling villagers turned to ash. The trees wilted. The sky darkened, and suddenly Oba was back in the clearing. The thunder spirit hovered above him, watching silently. "You passed," it said. "You chose duty over desire. That is the soul of the rain." Then the thunder rolled backward, folding into silence, and the spirit of thunder vanished into the sky. The rain spirit stepped forward, nodding. "Few ever pass the thunder trial," one whispered. "Your heart is unclouded." Oba stood taller now, though his body ached. "What now?" he asked, voice steady. The lead spirit extended a hand and opened his palm. Resting in it was a small, clear crystal droplet, a teardrop of pure rainlight. "This is the heart of the storm," said the spirit. "Place it in the riverbed where the village once drank. It will awaken the clouds if your people prove they are ready to receive rain." Oba frowned. "What does that mean?" The spirit's form began to fade. "Rain does not fall on barren hearts. If they do not change, the skies will remain closed." And then the spirits vanished into mist, and the baobab's glow faded into silence. Oba stood alone. The trial was over. Now came the harder part, convincing a village that hated him to believe in him. Oba stood at the edge of the clearing, the night breeze tugging gently at his tattered clothes. In his palm, the heart of the storm crystal pulsed with a dim blue light. Warm like a sleeping ember. Behind him, the baobab tree, was silent again. The rain spirits were gone. Ahead of him lay the path home. But home was no longer a place of comfort. It was a place of judgment, suspicion, and harsh eyes. Still, Oba walked his feet sure, his mind resolute. Batu, the blind goat, walked beside him like a loyal shadow. As he entered the village, a few people looked up from their weary huts. Their faces were gaunt, skin dry, lips cracked. Children leaned weakly against walls. No laughter, no sound but wind and dust. Then someone noticed him. "It's the boy," a woman whispered. "He's been gone for days." Another man stepped out from a hut. Tea carrying. Tialus came. Next, robes fluttering in the dry wind, faces hard as stone. Oba, the chief elder, barked. "Where have you been?" Oba stopped in the middle of the square. He looked each of them in the eye. "I have spoken to the rain spirits," he said clearly. "They gave me this." He held up the glowing crystal and told me what to do. Murmurs exploded around him. Rain spirits, lies. He's cursed. He's been talking to ghosts. This is madness. Oba didn't flinch. "I can bring rain, but only if the village is willing to change." The spirits said the rain will not fall on selfish hearts. Change. One elder scoffed, "And who are you to preach to us, orphan?" "I'm the one they chose," Oba replied. "You've cast me out, hated me for years, but I am still here. I didn't run, I didn't curse you back. Came back to save you." A heavy silence fell. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then a child coughed. It was Naya. Her mother held her, pale and weakening, and stepped forward slowly. "If there's even a chance he's telling the truth," she said, voice trembling. "What? Do we have to lose?" An old man limped from the crowd. "What kind of change do the spirits ask for, boy?" Oba looked at the gathered crowd, his voice growing firm. "They ask that you treat one another with kindness, that greed and cruelty end, that every villager shares what little they have, that no child goes hungry while another hoards yams in a hidden basket. The rain will not bless division, it only falls on unity." A murmur of shame moved through the people. Eyes turned downward. Mothers clutched their children. Old friends glanced at one another. Then, slowly, a woman stepped forward and placed her last gourd of millet in the center of the square. Others followed, dried cassava, one handful of beans, a jug of muddy water. Whatever little they had, they began to offer not to the spirits but to each other. And in that moment, something shifted in the air. The skies were still dry. The earth was still cracked, but hope had returned. Abba walked to the old riverbed and knelt. He placed the heart of the storm in the center of the parched soil. It sank gently, vanishing into the earth. Then he stood up and said nothing. The villagers watched. Hours passed. The sun began to dip, and then a wind blew in from the east, stronger than before. The clouds rolled in, first gray, then silver, then black. The sky darkened, and with a roar, rain fell. Asterisk, asterisk, Rosh. The skies opened with a thunderous roar as sheets of rain crashed down onto Yandalo for the first time in years. The villagers didn't move at first. They just stood witty and slack-jawed as cold. Fresh water kissed their faces and soaked their dusty garments. Then joy erupted. Children ran barefoot through the mud, dancing and squealing with laughter. Women lifted their arms to the sky, tears mixing with rain. Men fell to their knees in silent gratitude. The parched earth soaked up every drop like a starving, soul-cracked ground softened. Dead leaves stirred. Life whispered its return, and at the center of it all stood Obi, drenched, shivering, glowing. He didn't smile. Not yet. His eyes searched the skies, as if listening for a message no one else could hear. Behind him, the village chief approached, his robes heavy with water. "Boy," he said quietly, "you've done what none of us could. You brought the rain." Oba turned slowly, water dripping from his hair. "It wasn't me," he said. "It was the people. You chose to be different." That opened the sky. The elder bowed his head. "Still, you led us there. You reminded us of who we're meant to be." Other villagers came forward too. One by one, they approached Oba with gifts, simple things: a mat, cloak, a carved flute, a bowl of porridge, a necklace of dried seeds, symbols of acceptance, of belonging. But Oba gently raised his hand. "I didn't do this for thanks," he said. "I did it for Naya, for Batu, for my parents, for all of us." Then the sky rumbled again louder. This time, everyone froze. A wind unlike any other swept through the village. Not harsh, but powerful. It carried a deep hum, almost like a voice chanting from the sky itself. Oba stepped forward instinctively. The clouds parted slightly, and from them descended a single beam of golden light. In it appeared the rain spirits, but now they were different. Not cloaked in mist and mystery, but shining, gentle, human-like in form. Their faces bore peace and wisdom. The villagers dropped to their knees in awe, but the spirits looked only at Oba. "You have completed the pact," said the lead spirit. "Ah, but your journey is not over." Oba blinked. "Not over." "But the rain was only the beginning," another spirit said. "The earth is healing. Now, the world must learn to listen again, and you must be the voice." Oba's heart pounded. "Leave the village?" he asked. The spirit nodded. "You are a rain bearer, now keeper of balance between the sky and the soil. There are other lands, other people, other droughts, not of water, but of kindness, justice, and truth. They need your song." Oba looked back at the villagers, his village. The people who once feared him now knelt in awe, tears in their eyes. "Will I ever return?" he asked softly. "When the earth calls you back," the spirit answered, "the sky will know." And then, just like that, the spirits rose back into the clouds. Vanishing like morning mist, the beam of light disappeared. Silence followed. Then, a hand touched his Naya's tiny fingers. "Will you go now?" she asked. Voice small. Oba knelt. "Not yet. Not today." He pulled her close, sheltering her from the wind. "I'll stay till you can dance in the rain on your own." The rain fell for 3 full days and nights, not as a flood, but as a blessing, gentle, steady, and alive with renewal. The once cracked soil turned rich and dark. Green shoots peeked out where only dust had lived. Rivers trickled back to life, their songs soft but certain. Yandalo, the forgotten village, began to bloom again. And in the heart of this rebirth stood Abanat as an outcast. But as a keeper of change, the elders, now humbled, called for a village, gathering the largest one in a generation. This time, Oba was not pushed to the back or watched with suspicion. He was asked to speak. He stood on the old storytelling stone in the center of the square, wearing a cloak woven from rain-soaked fibers gifted to him by the village women. The heart of the storm had vanished into the soil, but a blue mark shaped like a drop now glowed faintly on the back of his hand. "Many of you knew me as the orphan," he began. "The boy you feared, the boy you blamed." Heads lowered. No one interrupted. "But the spirits didn't choose me because I was special. They chose me because I was listening while others were too loud to hear." He looked toward the younger children sitting at the front. "There is magic in this world," he said softly. "Not just in trees and skies, but in you, in how you treat the ones with the least, in how you share even when you're hungry, in how you listen to each other and to the earth. The villagers nodded. The chief elder stood and raised a staff. "Let it be known," he declared, "from this day forth, Oba shall be called Rain-bearer of Yondalo. His story shall be passed on so that no child here is ever told they are worthless again." A cheer went up, not wild, but reverent. The kind of cheer that comes with healing. Oba spent the following weeks teaching the village children the symbols he had seen in the baobab tree. He showed them the rhythms of the rain dance, not just the movements, but the meaning. Batu, the blind goat, now had a bed of woven grass and was treated like a village elder herself. She rarely moved far from Oba's side. Fields were replanted. Wells were cleaned. The people began living not with fear, but with gratitude. But every night, Oba would still walk alone to the edge of the village, stare at the stars, and whisper into the wind. He was waiting. One night, under a sky blooming with stars, the wind answered. A faint voice, a distant drumbeat, a whisper only he could hear. "Aba, rain-bearer, it is time." Oba closed his eyes. He had known this moment would come. The next morning, Oba packed nothing but a small carved drum and a pouch of seeds, each one given to him by a child in the village. Naya stood at the edge of the village with the others, holding back tears. "Will you come back?" she asked. Aba smiled. "One day, when the skies forget again, when the people stop listening, or when I need to hear your voice to remember who I am." He knelt and pressed a hand into the soil. "This earth knows me now. It will keep me close, no matter how far I go." Then he rose, and with the morning sun rising behind him, Aba, the orphan, the outcast, the rain-bearer walked down the path that led beyond Yondalo, not as a boy, but as a legend in the making. Asterisk, asterisk. Years passed, and though Aba had vanished from the paths of Yondalo, his story did not. It lived on in whispers around village fires, in the rhythm of pounding yam mortar, in the patterns carved into wooden drums passed from father to son, mother to daughter. Children grew up tracing the shape of a raindrop on their palms, hoping for a mark like Aba's. Elders ended there. Evening tales with his name. Remember the boy who tamed the skies, for he began where none believed. Yondalo flourished. The drought never returned, not because the rains fell every day, but because the people changed. They listened. They shared. They taught every child that magic begins in compassion, and that even the most forgotten soul can hold the fate of a nation far away. Beyond mountains and valleys, Oba walked through villages that had never seen a drop in years, where crops failed, and anger filled the air. He arrived not with thunder, but with silence. And when he danced, the earth remembered. He met others, like hymn keepers of forgotten songs, dreamers who spoke to winds, women who knew the healing touch of roots and rivers. Together, they formed the circle of the rain-bearers, guardians of balance, not kings, not warriors, just listeners, who reminded the world that nature speaks, and sometimes it is a child who hears her best. Back in Yondalo, one night many years later, an old man arrived, wearing a tattered cloak and leaning on a twisted staff. His beard was silver. His hands were cracked like ancient bark. He came without noise. But when he sat beside the baobab and began to hum a song only one boy had ever sung, the wind stirred and a child nearby whispered, "That's him, that's Aba." But the elders just smiled and said, "No, Oba is not a man. He is the rain. He is the wind. He is the song we teach our children so they never forget who they are." And the rain began to fall once more, soft and sure. Asterisk, asterisk, so if you ever find yourself beneath a dry sky, if the world feels like it has forgotten your name, if no one hears your voice or believes in your gift, remember Oba, the orphan, the outcast, the boy who listened when no one else would, and taught the skies how to cry again. Asterisk, asterisk, thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. If you watched till the end, please comment OBA so that we could understand you were with us till the end. As well as, please let us know, where are you watching from? Before leaving, please hit the subscribe button, comment your thought, and share with your nearest and dearest one. See you in the next one. Until to the F. Next one, stay happy. Goodbye, asterisk.